Okay, this is a unit 2 review. Again, I'm going to go quickly and then we will post the video. And then when we post the video, you can go back and rewatch it. Okay. So number 1 on your review sheet, it asks you if you had to pour all these layers into a cylinder, how would you know which one had the highest density and which one had the lowest density, right? So the highest density would be at the very bottom. And then the lowest density, the one with the lowest, would be on top. Okay. So the layers at the bottom would have the highest, and the layer at the bottom would have the lowest density. Mm-hmm.
If you want to go so fast.
I don't want to wait, but it's not all gonna fit. So I just try like after.
The gas molecules have the largest amount of kinetic energy and are far apart, while the water liquid molecules are closer together and have less kinetic energy. So if you think about gas vapor in the air, those molecules are far apart. They have more kinetic energy than water in your water bottle. The water in your water bottle is going to have less kinetic energy, and the particles are going to be closer together and slide over one another. So this goes right into number 3, which the motion of molecules is the greatest as a gas and the least as a solid. So on the test, there's a question and it asks you which thing has the highest amount of motion in their particles. Is it the air around us, the soda you drink, or the wood chair? And the answer is the air around you. The least amount would be the wooden chair. And then your soda would have the second amount, okay? I'll pause here for a moment and you can write down these answers. Okay, I'm going to move on. You can go back and record this, right? You can write these things down after the video is done.
Just one more second. Just a couple more seconds.
All right, number 4. Number 4. 4 is the melting point. So the physical property that a substance changes from a liquid to a solid is called the melting point. This is when we add temperature, causing the particles to speed up. And when they speed up, they get further apart and they begin to slide over each other, turning from a solid to a liquid. And this point at which that happens is called the melting point. Number 5 is something you should know off the top of your head, as we've gone over it and over it and over it. So volume is the term for the amount of space occupied by an object. So the amount of space that is occupied by an object is the volume. Okay, so the reason why we put helium into balloons and they float to the top of the ceiling is because the helium causes the balloon to rise because the helium is less dense than the air, the atmosphere around it, okay? So because the air is less dense, the helium is less dense than the atmosphere, that causes the balloon to rise. And then number 7, solid is the state of matter that has a definite shape. It also has a definite volume. If we compare that to a liquid has a definite volume, but not a definite shape. Think about like 40 milliliters in the water fountain is still 40 milliliters in your cup. However, that water is going to take on the shape of whatever it's in. And then a gas does not have a definite shape nor a definite volume. Remember the If You're Happy and You Know It song. All right, number 8, you just have to fill this in. So temperature can be also referred to as measuring the average energy of motion of particles. So the definition for temperature, and this was in the notes that we took, is the measuring of average energy of motion of particles. Nine is the conductivity is how well a substance allows things to move through it. It can be electrical or thermal conductivity. So think about this. A wire that plugs in your TV to the wall has a conductivity, right? The wires inside of it have they're conductors. They're allowed to easily transfer that electrical energy from the wall to your TV. But when you touch that wire, you are not electrocuted. And that is because the outside is covered in rubber. That rubber has a very low electrical conductivity, making it an insulator. You will have to look at a jar of water, and there will be 3 items in that water. You'll have to determine which one is the most dense and which one is the least dense. And the way you determine that is the one that is the most dense would be at the very bottom, and the one that is least dense would be at the very top. You will also have to be able to do math. So you will have to multiply length times width times height to find the volume of a rectangular prism. So you'll have a rectangular prism. You will have to find the volume by multiplying the length times width times height. Okay. Moving on. So 12. 12 is mass. It is the amount of matter in an object. If we compare that to weight, weight is the gravitational pull, and it depends on where you are in the universe. So mass is going to be measured in grams or kilograms, while weight is measured in newtons. Your mass does not change no matter where you are in the universe. To find density, you have to remember I heart density. This is mass divided by volume, and it's the formula for that. So you will have to find the density of a few items. A couple of your problems require you to do the math. So you'll either be given the mass and volume and you have to find the density, or you have to find the volume and then find the mass and then find the density. So there will be about 3 additional problems where you have to do this. And then 14. Displacement is how you find the volume of an irregular item. So an irregular item is something that is not, that you can't use a formula for. It's not something you can do length times width times height for. And to find that, you use displacement. Think about the guy in the bathtub. He got in the bathtub rose. That's what we're going to do, right? So you take a first reading of a graduated cylinder, and then you drop the item in the graduated cylinder. You find the change by subtracting, and that is your volume. On the test, you will have to do that. And then from there, you will have to find the density as well. So be sure that you can read a graduated cylinder.
Oh.
And finally, 15 and 16. 15, you'll have to know different physical properties. So physical properties include color, odor, smell, mass, volume, density, boiling point, melting point, and freezing point. Also know, number 16, that solid particles vibrate in place and are highly attracted to one another. Liquid particles slide over each other and are less attracted. And then gas particles can touch, but they have the least amount of attraction, so they bounce around the room. So as you finish copying this, there are 20 questions on the test. There's 16 questions here. The additional 3 to 4 are going to be on volume and density. So know that you have to be able to do the math, okay? Other than that, you should be good to go. When you finish this, you can go back and watch the video on YouTube. You can watch it on Canvas, and you can just look over the unrecorded PowerPoint to get the answers. Please study. You do have an ISN check as well.